Hours, days, years go by on Calipso's faraway island. For 7 years now, Ulysses has lived with the nymph, daughter of the god Atlas, far away from Ithaca and his family. 7 years that this island has been his whole universe. 7 years since he disappeared from the world of men. In this existence, where each day is the same as the one before, Ulysses' every need is satisfied by Calipso, who lavishes him with attention. In the flower-lined cave that serves as his home, Calipso offers him everything he desires. Nothing is too good to keep the one she loves more than anything by her side. But as he revels in this life of pleasure, a strange feeling overcomes Ulysses. It's not sadness exactly, nor grief, yet it's a bit of both. He isolates himself, spends hours gazing out to sea, his face devoid of expression. A strange ache fills his heart. Homesickness. On this island where every pleasure is at his fingertips, Ulysses dreams of his home Ithaca, of his wife Penelope, of his son Telemachus. There is one feeling that is shared by both the immortal gods and men: torment. As evidenced by the brooding expression on the face of the master of Olympus sitting in his deserted palace. A few feet away, his daughter, Athena, observes him in silence. Her mood is hardly better than that of her father. It's once again a question of Ulysses' fate. Ulysses, whom she has never ceased to protect, in spite of Zeus, and often in spite of the man himself. It has been 7 years now that Ulysses has been held captive by the nymph Calipso, who uses her formidable charms to keep him by her side. Athena rages against the goddess who has dared to offer her lover immortality. She has overstepped her rights. Calipso is a goddess, yes, but it is not for her to offer immortality to a mortal. No god has this power except Zeus, the god of all gods. To claim the opposite is to challenge Zeus, the master of Olympus. Zeus explodes. So it's now come to who is going to challenge the master of Olympus the most. Because Ulysses, with each passing day, turns further and further away from the gods. He speaks blasphemous words against them, words that no mortal has ever dared utter. And meanwhile, Poseidon and Helios, the gods offended by Ulysses, clamor for revenge. They threaten Zeus with violent reprisals if they don't obtain satisfaction. It is all this that is the source of Zeus's torment. Calipso's disobedience, the threat of an open war with Poseidon and Helios, and more importantly, the state of ungodliness into which Ulysses is gradually sinking as Calipso offers him a life of easy pleasures. The gods owe their existence to the mortals' belief in them. If this belief dies, then the gods will become powerless, including Zeus. He knows this. Athena, once again, pleads the cause of Ulysses, her protege. If the gods decided to help Ulysses leave Calipso and return home to Ithaca, then he would regain the faith that has been steadily wavering since he left the smoldering ruins of Troy. Once again, Athena manages to be persuasive. Zeus finally gives in to his favorite daughter. So be it then. Let Ulysses return to his rock and his goats. The god Hermes appears in Calipso's cave. She recognized him as soon as he crossed the threshold, but his presence here surprises her. The gods never visit Calipso. Hermes tells her about the mission entrusted to him by Zeus. It's on his orders that he's here. The god of all gods is furious that Calipso has dared to offer immortality to her handsome lover, and he urges her to set him free. A deep sadness overcomes the goddess. Hermes adds that it is impossible for a god to go against the decisions of the master of Olympus. Calipso must submit and let Ulysses return to his home. The decisions of the master of Olympus. Calipso would like to answer that these have been contested regularly for centuries by his own wife, Hera, by his own brother, Poseidon, by his own children, Ares, the god of war, and by the divine twins, Apollo and Artemis, who now refuse to appear on Mount Olympus. They've all challenged the decisions of the master of Olympus, but she holds her tongue. Calipso stifles her sobs. She shares with Hermes the terrible sense of injustice she feels. Wasn't it she who saved this man when he was alone on his keel after Zeus himself, to please Poseidon, still thirsty for human life, had struck his ship with a lightning bolt? But she will obey Zeus's decree, for her mind is righteous and her soul full of pity for the man she loves, in whom she wanted to make her immortal husband. Calipso joins Ulysses on the shore. First of all, she tells him that she is obeying the highest of all authorities, against her will. But she immediately warns him. If he knew all the misfortunes fate had in store for him before he reaches home, he would choose to stay with her. Choose. Ulysses can choose. Life is sweet with Calipso, but he misses his wife Penelope as much as his son Telemachus and his homeland, Ithaca. So Ulysses chooses. He will leave. With a heavy heart, Calipso accepts her lover's choice. She even explains to Ulysses how he can build a boat. Ulysses builds his boat in 4 days. And the goddess herself weaves him a sail, which he fixes to the mast hewn from olive wood. Calipso then gifts Ulysses with perfumes and food. Faithful to the promise she made to her god, she lets the man she loves sail out to sea. to brave the waves once again. With a gesture of her hand, the goddess causes a mild, harmless wind to rise, and the boat sets off at full sail away from the lagoon, away from Calipso's island. Ulysses is euphoric, intoxicated by his newfound freedom. He opens up his sail to the breeze, stands at the helm, and mans it day and night. For 17 days he sails on the high seas. And on the 18th day, the misty mountain tops of Feaci come into view. Ithaca isn't far away now. From the bow, Ulysses scans the horizon for reefs, sea serpents, and other dangers. But nothing shows itself other than the familiar coasts of the land of the Phaeacians. It's at this moment that Poseidon, the earth shaker, spots Ulysses' skiff. His rage intensifies. His resentful soul has not forgotten the affront he has suffered. Raising his trident, Poseidon covers the sky and sea with darkness. Mighty winds start blowing all around Ulysses' vessel. Soon, the terrible storm breaks off the mast, and the sail falls into the depths of the sea. Ulysses is trapped underwater for several long minutes. For 2 days and 2 nights, Ulysses drifts, clinging onto a beam. No port is in sight, no cove or bay, nothing but spurs, rocks, cliffs, and all around him, the raging sea. But just as he's about to be crushed by the breakers, his course is suddenly diverted, and he lands on a beach. With his last remaining ounce of strength, Ulysses crawls onto the sand, then collapses, exhausted among the reeds. When Ulysses regains consciousness, the first thing he sees is a small ball that has just rolled against him. Some young maidens are staring at him, speechless with surprise. When he makes a movement to get up, they quickly run away. Has he become so terrifying then? Ulysses slowly stands up. He takes a few steps through the brush. And there, suddenly finds himself face to face with another young woman of striking beauty. Their eyes meet. She turns her head away. Ulysses then realizes that he is naked, bloody, and mud-stained. The young woman is not troubled, however. She introduces herself. She's Nausicaa, daughter of Alcinous, king of the Phaeacians. She lectures her young servants. This stranger is not an enemy, otherwise he would have come armed, accompanied by warriors. They must respect the sacred duty of hospitality, because all foreigners come from Zeus. Nausicaa orders her attendants to take this beggar-like castaway to the river to wash him and provide him with clothes. At the same moment, a ship sails towards Ithaca. It's that of Telemachus, the son of Ulysses. He's returning home after a visit to Sparta to meet with King Menelaus, hero of the Trojan War. But Telemachus is not heading for the port. On the contrary, he's circling around the island because on the way back, the goddess Athena appeared to Telemachus in a dream. Or was it Hermes, the god of travelers? Telemachus doesn't know. When he woke up, he remembered only one thing. The dream had informed him that the suitors who have besieged Ithaca and dreamed of taking Ulysses' place have decided to ambush and kill him. At nightfall, Telemachus sneaks into his father's palace. He knows all the entrances and exits and how not to be seen. Through a side door, he reaches his mother's room. Penelope is in there, sitting at her loom. To fend off the suitors' advances, she has assured them that she will marry one of them once her weaving work is completed. And each evening, she unravels the work she's done during the day. Telemachus is eager to reveal to his mother what Menelaus told him. Ulysses is alive, captive of the vast sea, but he will return. Penelope doesn't dare believe it. She reprimands her son for his recklessness, for leaving without consulting her. Telemachus flares up. He is no longer a child. He flaunts his virility. Didn't he get home safe and sound, outwitting them all? He doesn't need his mother's permission to take out a boat, which he adds as part of his inheritance. An inheritance that she seems incapable of defending and that the suitors are in the process of squandering. Telemachus's reproaches are those of a child who wants to assert his authority as the son of a king and take over the reins of power. Penelope understands this. She says nothing. She's worried about her son's fate. He must hide, escape the trap the suitors will set for him. There's a place in the woods of Ithaca where he will be safe. No one will think of looking for him there. It's a pigsty. Ulysses has been bathed in the river by Nausicaa's handmaidens. They gave him some cloth to clothe himself with, and he is now on his way to the palace. He has to convince King Alcinous to help him get back to Ithaca. Nausicaa takes him to her parents, the king and queen. Ulysses kneels before Alcinous. He has been sailing the seas for years, and a storm brought him to this island. Princess Nausicaa was kind enough to rescue him. He now wants only one thing: to return to his homeland as soon as possible. If such were his will, King Alcinous could help him. Alcinous invites the castaway to eat at his table, in accordance with the laws of hospitality. But throughout the banquet, Alcinous studies the stranger with suspicion. Who is he? From which land does he come? What are his true intentions for coming all the way out here? As for Ulysses, he tries to think of a plan that would enable him to gain the king's trust. It's then that a man starts to speak. He is old. He is blind. Someone whispers his name in Ulysses' ear. He is an Aedos, a poet from the city of Chios. In a soft voice, he begins to tell the guests the long story of the Trojan War. As the Aedos recites what he calls the Iliad, a deep melancholy descends on Ulysses. King Alcinous notices this. He never takes his eyes off his mysterious guest. When the Aedos recounts in perfect verse the death of Patroclus and the pain of Achilles, Alcinous abruptly stops him. He has seen the tears rolling down the castaway's face. Alcinous demands to know his name and his story, who he seems so pained at the mention of those of the glorious heroes of Greece. Ulysses wipes away the tears running down his cheeks and that he cannot hide. It's no longer a time for evasion and ruse. There is only one way out: to retell the Aedos' story in detail, to tell his own story. So he turns to face Alcinous and tells him his name: Ulysses, son of Laertes. He relates how he has been wandering, a victim of misfortune, since the day he followed Agamemnon to Troy to fight for 10 years a people who had done him no harm. He relates how the gods, abandoning the Greeks to their revenge, deserted the hearts of men when Troy was burned and the Trojans massacred. How, due to the hostility of the god that makes the earth shake, he remained a captive of the vast sea for almost 10 years. How he faced the Cicones and the Lotus Eaters, the Cyclops and the underworld, Scylla and Charybdis. How storms scattered his ships and drowned his companions. How he himself, snatched from his vessel, survived by clinging to a beam before reaching the shores of Feaci. At the end of Ulysses' story, a heavy silence fills the room, and an expression of both admiration and incredulity can be read on all the faces. Alcinous declares that Ulysses should no longer have to wander endlessly. This hero, whose name reached his ears a long time ago, has already suffered too much. He invites all the princes of Phaeacia gathered around the table to shower him with gifts. Clothes, gold, silver. He has more than earned it. And at daybreak, Alcinous will put a vessel at Ulysses' disposal. The next day, at dawn, they all hurry to King Alcinous' ship, where cases of precious stones, bronze and gold, food and wine have been deposited. Ulysses thanks his benefactors, then climbs aboard. But no sooner has he taken up position on the stern forecastle than he feels his eyelids grow heavy. Ulysses tries to fight it, but sleep yet again gets the better of him. It's a deep sleep, like the stillness of death. When he wakes up, he is once again lying on a beach. Ulysses leaps to his feet. He scans his surroundings, but he recognizes nothing. This beach is totally unknown to him, just like the craggy rocks above it. In the distance, he sees Alcinous' ship slowly heading back out to sea. Ulysses explodes with rage. The Phaeacians have deceived him. They haven't taken him back to his homeland as they had promised him. They've abandoned him on a desert island. Ulysses, once again, is alone, rejected by the gods. rejected by man.